Travel day, you're about to hit the road? Well, stick around because we're going to talk about 10 items that you should always have before you hit the road. Dogs chewing bones, dogs running on hardwood floors, it's raining, trying to get these videos done, it can be a nightmare sometimes. It's never quiet. Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Wait. I'm Chris and today we're going to talk about 10 important items that you need to have before you hit the road on travel days. Now these aren't the kind of RV items that you need around the campground and things like that. These are the items that may save you out on the road from a big problem or a catastrophe waiting to happen. So without further ado, let's go and jump into it. And we're going to knock these out, starting with number one. Okay, number one on the list, and I think it was my first major purchase we bought when we got the RV, and that's the TST tire pressure monitor system. Listen, going down the road, you do not want blowouts. Tires heat up, tires are overinflated, tires are underinflated. All these can create two issues on the road. We've been lucky enough not to have a blowout, but I like to think that's because we have the TST tire pressure monitor system. And I'll put a link up to anything we talk about today if we go into more depth and detail on these items. And I'll put links to any video where we do talk about these. And here's a link to this one right here where we do get into the TST tire pressure monitor system. But it's a great item to have. We have these monitors on all of our truck tires, on all the RV tires. We know when they're getting too hot. We know if the pressure's too low before we leave. I think it's a must-have, and it should be the number one on this list. Make sure you have a tire pressure monitor system of some sort before you hit the road. Which takes us to number two, and they're pretty related, and that's the Air pump. The Air pump was probably the second major purchase we made before hitting the road. Because it's one thing if you got a tire pressure monitor system telling you need to fill your tires up if you can't do it. Listen, with big trailers like this and big trucks like we have an F450, these require 110 PSI for the most part, depending on the load that you have in them. And you're not going to be able to fill these up at any gas station and things like that. So you have to have the appropriate air pump. Just your average standard car pump's not going to work. We absolutely love the Air pump. We've had this for almost probably just a little bit over 4 years now. So right before we hit the road in the morning, I can turn my tire pressure monitor system on, look at all my tires, see which ones need to be filled up, top them off real quick. This hooks right up to your RV battery or your truck battery. Again, this is a must-have if you're on the road and you're losing pressure. You don't want to be caught out there without a reliable air pump. And we will put an Amazon link to the one that we have in the video description below, along with everything that we talk about today. Which brings us to number three on the list, and that is the Ryobi impact driver. This is staying with the same subject matter. You don't want to be stuck out on the road without one of these. This is going to get you back on the road quicker if you have an issue with your tires, leaf springs, which we've had an issue with all that. And when you're trying to change out these bolts by hand, you're going to save tons of time if you have an impact driver. There's lots of other uses that you can use it around the RV on your hitches and things like that. So definitely recommend an impact driver. We have the Ryobi one just because we've had a Ryobi blower and a Ryobi trimmer and a hand air pump and some other things. So it's nice having everything all compatible. Okay, number four, staying along the same lines again, and that's going to be a good torque wrench. Listen, you can use the Ryobi impact driver to torque things down, but when you need to get it down to spec, you want a good torque wrench on hand. When you got to torque those tires down to 120, 150, whatever it may be. Again, I've used a good torque wrench when I've replaced our kingpin to a Reese goose box. Definitely comes in handy. Do not hit the road without a good torque wrench. Number five on the list, sticking with safety, a good fire extinguisher in your tow vehicle. We always keep a fire extinguisher in our tow vehicle, whether we're towing or not. It's always there. It's always right there in the center console. If anything ever happens under the engine and you start seeing it smoke, I mean, you want to get out of the vehicle, but if you have a fire extinguisher, there's a good chance you can eliminate this fire before it just totally engulfs your vehicle and everything that you're towing behind it. So having a good fire extinguisher in your RV is one thing, and we have 3 of those inside the RV, but having one handy right there in the tow vehicle in case something happens while going down the road is a must for us. And don't forget to always test these fire extinguishers periodically, just by pressing down on the little green button, make sure it pops back up to make sure they're still good. Okay, number 6 on our list, it's a little bit more of a recreational item, not so necessarily concerned with the safety on this one, but we think this is a must-have when traveling down the road. We love having this, and that is our cooler refrigerator. Now this is a refrigerator by SETPOWER, and this thing is great because you can plug it right into your truck. It can be 12 volt or it can be 120 volt. It can run off your battery, and it's great because you can still leave it plugged into your truck when you're out doing your things and the truck is shut off, because it has 3 different levels that you can set it to protect your battery from being drained too low. So whether you want to use this in your RV basement plugged in all the time, if you want to use it in your truck, we love it because a lot of times we actually just take it out in our car on our day adventures when we're going out picnicking and hiking, just to have that cooler really handy and not have to worry about getting ice all the time. It's just a game changer for us. Not only that, but we're constantly making trips out to the store. Most of the time when we're camping, a lot of times when we're set up for long periods of time, we're like an hour away from the grocery store. So we can go shopping, buy our meat, and you can set this thing anywhere from like 50 degrees all the way down to 0. So you can use it as a flat out freezer, and we can fill up our groceries with it, whatever we're buying frozen that day. We can go out and run all of our errands and not have to worry about getting back home and rushing back home because, you know, the food's getting warm in the trunk and things like that. So this is great for travel days. Again, the little guy can hand us drinks while we're traveling down the road. It stays plugged in. We love it for camping. We love taking it out for adventures. You just can't beat this. Now we have the 32 quart AJ30 model. For us, this is what was important for us because, again, we wanted something that would fit in the back seat of the car, that we could take on daily excursions, would fit on the floorboard of the truck. But you can get these in a lot bigger models if you like. They can go in the back of your truck, plug into your, again, your cigarette lighters, and you can take them anywhere. It's nice if you don't have access to the fridge in your RV on travel days, and you don't have an outdoor kitchen, you can keep this in your basement and have easy access to drinks and lunch and things like that when you're on the road. And not only that, it just makes a great backup refrigerator to have in RV life. So I can't speak highly enough about these things. They're great. I'll put links down below where you can check these out, check out the different models if you're interested in this. For us, we just can't imagine hitting the road without this. And now, before we move on to the next item, I'd love to hear from you guys. Maybe comment down below on some items that you feel I've missed, or some things that you think are must-haves on travel days. Number 7 on the list, getting back to safety, and that's having some sort of medi-kit in your vehicle. Right here in our truck, in the center console, we keep one of these convenient little medi-kits that we can actually just pull out, take hiking with us, or we keep it in the truck 24/7. It has a window punch, knives, medical stuff, band-aids, bandages, anything you would need for a basic kind of quick medical emergency while you're on the road or you're hiking. I think these things are essential to always just keep in the truck. That way, anytime, any place you go, you always know you have that safety. Not only that, but we also keep one in our second vehicle in the trunk of the car, as you can see here. And again, this has anything you would need on a basic hike, from fire starters to heat blankets, all the way down to just basic bandages, band-aids, blisters, things like that. I always think being prepared and just keeping these things in the vehicle, because that's when you're going to need them the most, just makes sense to us. And having some sort of medical kit to us is very important to have in your vehicles. Moving along, number 8 for RV must-haves on travel day, and that is a dash cam. We've had a dash cam pretty much ever since we started this adventure. Having a dash cam in the truck or any vehicle that you have can be very important, but especially when you're towing something big behind you and there's always chances of people cutting you off. You're having trouble braking, you can't brake in time. You want that footage, you want that proof of, that you are not at fault. And I love this dash cam because it also has a rear camera. So not only that, but you can see what's going on behind you. And I used to use it to actually hitch up until I got the toolbox and tonneau cover. Even when the tonneau cover is rolled up now, I can't quite see my ball in my bed. But if you don't have a gooseneck style like I do, if you have maybe an Anderson hitch or just a regular fifth wheel hitch, you can actually just turn the rear view camera on this dash cam. You can actually line up and see when you're hitching up. So that was another bonus to it. Plus it has security features, so when the car is parked and you're not around, if something bumps the car, hits the car too hard, it actually turns on automatically, records what happens. That way if somebody does a hit and run, you have that footage. So I recommend before you get on the road, definitely get you a good dash cam to keep track and record anything that may happen. Number 9 is spare parts. And by spare parts, I mean things like leaf springs, bearings, extra set of shackles, U-bolts, the kind of spare part that you're going to need on the side of the road when something important breaks. Now listen, you can't carry everything down the road. I had an axle break one time, the spindle. I'm not carrying an extra axle, but I have broken a leaf spring twice, and both times I've had a spare leaf spring on hand. So even if you don't have maybe the technical know-how to change that leaf spring right there on site, when you do call for help and somebody arrives, well, you have that leaf spring ready to go, and that could save you a few days on the road if you can't find one. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, and we were in New Mexico one time, and this happened to us, it can be really hard to find the exact parts you need for your trailer. So I highly recommend at least traveling with an extra set of leaf springs, and having the U-bolts for that is just a bonus. Having the bearings, some shackles won't hurt. Things like this don't seem necessary, but when this happens to you on the side of the road, just like you need a spare tire to put on right away, if you can change these right away on the road, you're going to get right back on the road. More than likely, you're still going to make your reservations that day, and you're not going to get all backed up in your travel plans. So having a box of spare parts is always a good idea when you hit the road. Okay, and last up on our list of 10 items for RV travel days, must-haves, is some sort of trucker GPS or some sort of RV GPS app. You guys don't want to just use Google and Waze when you're towing these big rigs. Those kind of apps don't understand what you're towing with. They'll take you in completely crazy areas that you're just not going to make it. So either invest in a good trucker GPS, or what we like to use is the Copilot app, which is an RV trucker app. And it allows me to put in the height, the weight, the length, what kind of roads I prefer when I make a trip. I can plan the trip ahead of time. I can change my waypoints. I can look at it, move things around. But it keeps you out of harm's way having apps like this. The last thing you want to do is hit some sort of dead end and have to back straight up 2 miles, or end up on a road or a bridge, or end up through a tunnel that you're just not going to fit. So definitely recommend taking the time, checking out a good app or GPS unit. And again, I'll put a link up to this video where we do talk about the app and other apps that we do use as RVers. This is one that we've been pretty happy with on the road. We've been using it for quite a few years. As always, guys, you can check out down below links to products we talked about, links to videos where we get into these products and items in more depth. And as always, get out there, start your full-time RV adventure, because why wait? We'll see you guys next time.